Welcome to the Fantasy NASCAR podcast brought to you by RaceForThePrize.com. Let's talk about the road race at Portland for the Xfinity Series. But first, remember, June package, you want this extensive, expansive, comprehensive road course spreadsheet. $30 for the month of June. You get Gateway, Portland, Sonoma, Iowa, New Hampshire. Maybe you just want to make one payment via Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. $55. And you also get all those Nashville, Chicago, Pocono, Indy and IRP. It's a deal. It is a deal, and it will save you time. Have fun this summer. Send that payment my way. Let's get rocking and rolling. Okay, what do we need to know about the Xfinity Series? Road course racing. Well, the rules are always the same. You are chasing place differential, and it goes back to the bucket theory that I created. You have 3 scoring buckets. Let me put up last year's race on the screen just to show you and reinforce this idea. Look at all these sheets. Come on, $55 for 2 months, and you're getting every road course known to man, basically. Look at all this stuff. It's hard to navigate. There's so many sheets. All right, Portland, bucket theory. Scoring bucket 1, finishing position. Scoring bucket 2, place differential. Scoring bucket 3, fast laps and laps led. Fast laps and laps led, this bucket is very small, right? There aren't very many laps in a road course race. That then emphasizes these 2 buckets. This bucket never changes. Finishing position, it's always going to be about the same. Now, depending on where drivers qualify, which very easily in a road course race can be in the back, this bucket can be rather large or rather small. Most of the time at a road course, regardless of the opportunity, it is a bucket we want to target simply because it is more valuable this week because this bucket has shrunk. Typically, finishing position bucket, the points available, you're imagining throwing a bunch of coins in a bucket. You're imagining throwing a bunch of coins in the place differential bucket, then counting at the end. This bucket, based on the laps, sometimes it can hold more coins, like at a short track. And so you're like, oh, I got to get that bucket. Or at a road course where it's very tiny, it doesn't really fill that much. You can't completely ignore it because that bucket is just big enough that it gets just enough coins that you will need some of it, but it's less of a priority. These 2, the drivers that can fill these 2 buckets with points are the priorities. And so you may only need to want to chase one driver who ends up throwing some coins into the fast laps led bucket. Now, one problem with Portland is the pit stops aren't live. When we have live pit stops, you can have these value drivers that pit before the end of a stage. And so they cycle forward and they finish much better than where their average rank position is. And you say, well, that was the problem with Portland, and you're showing Portland, and we are seeing Blaine Perkins and Josh Williams both finish better than where they ran. That is true, but they did not do so by the benefit of our classic pit cycling, because they're out in Portland with not really the pit crew or the resources. They didn't get there through pit cycling. They just simply started pretty much in the exact same positions, 27 and 28. Both ran pretty much in the exact same position, 22, which is not really that much of a stretch for Josh Williams, who's been in plenty of road course races and has been optimal in countless road course races. Blaine Perkins, who, I'll say it again, and I say it all the time on the podcast, not a bad road course racer, pretty decent short flat track racer, has put together quality results throughout his young career. Other places, not so much. So for him to run 22nd, not a big deal. And then at the end, put it on the screen, show you the lap-by-lap data, which you can get at racefortheprize.com. 30 for June, 55 for June and July. How about that? How about that? Just Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. So they simply just get good restarts at the end. Here it is, 68. We get 2 cautions at the end. Both are in 20 and 19th. And in the end, they have decent restarts, which is not really that crazy given what I'm about to tell you about Portland in turn 1. It's not that, oh, wow, these guys had a good restart. It's more so they didn't F it up. I'll repeat that. It may not be so much that Perkins, and we should give them credit, right? They're running around 20th, so it's not like they were total slugs. They put themselves in position to capitalize. They didn't make any major mistakes, whereas plenty of other drivers at Portland can and will make mistakes. Top tier drivers will do stupid stuff. It is Portland. Go back and watch any of the races. To run 20th all day, that's got to give them some credit there. But you also have to give them credit here at the end, is they simply just didn't screw up turn one at the end, and they got their finish. So to go back to what I was saying, yes, typically at the road courses, we are chasing place differential because of pit cycling. And slugs can play the game right and get into the top 15, sometimes even the top 10. At Portland, you can't do that. But you can still get into the top 10, top 15 because of turn one at the end. But that also means you really do need to be within striking distance, I would propose. I don't believe you can be an absolute turd or slug and benefit from the way that Portland will go down. That might be a little extreme. But the top of the mid-pack, I believe, can get those 5 spots at the end. Good. Great. We'll talk more about turn one in a second. Let's change gears. And so you know your scoring strategy. You're going to go after probably one hog, chase place differential, and we'll look at some optimals to clarify that here in a second. And yeah, you're just chasing place differential all over. Let's just look at the kings of the road. What say you? Do a little refresher course. We've got a couple road courses coming up. Sonoma in a couple weeks. It would behoove us to look at the data and see who's our boys. Who we got? All right, perfect. We got just about every data point we need on the screen right here. We got them listed based on price. And I'll change that in a second, but it is kind of fun though. We've got this AJ SVG matchup at Portland. Could be pretty exciting. I know SVG let us down at COTA, but hey, we're not going to have to worry about the dreaded cutting the course penalties. Had you forgotten about that? Remember the nightmares you had after the COTA race about cutting the course? All right, don't worry about this weekend. All right, we're going to have some fun. There's a good song by about Portland by the Middle Brothers. If you want to check it out, I think it's a cover too. Anyway, how about we sort it by top 10 percentage? I think that is the number or metric I want to use. But if you have access to the Fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet from racefortheprize.com, Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App, hey, what are those Venmo, PayPal, and Cash Apps again? I don't know. You just punch in my name. There's a link in the description below. There is also a link at racefortheprize.com. And, of course, I don't have it on this one. Fail. All right, so Jesse Love and Austin Green are going to jump to the top of the board, but we got to be careful with that because they only have one road race under their belt. We'll talk a little bit about Austin Green here a little bit, and possibly even Jesse Love. I've got links in there. You can look at Jesse Love's ARCA series, road course racing, and what Austin Green has done in the lower series. Either way, they are 1 for 1. Now, we look at a guy like AJ Allmendinger who has 26 more races, and his top 10 percentage is just 7 percentage points lower. That's freaking insane. I mean, that is unbelievable. If there was an Xfinity Series Hall of Fame, and I know the Hall of Fame is supposed to draw from every series, if there were just simply Xfinity Series, like a minor league Hall of Fame, AJ would be a first-round ballot based on his road course racing alone. Custer's been pretty solid with the road courses, and he's finally getting wins. Started winning last season. He won at Portland last season. It's like, we finally got our first road course win. Been trying for years. And it was after battling with John Hunter Nemechek, ironically. The same guy who, years before, was battling for a win at Bowmanville in Canada. And the two took each other out. And then Custer spears him like it's a wrestling match. Nemechek loses his Chevy deal. Classic. Anyway, Custer back in victory lane. Solid, not great, but he does definitely illustrate the point that in these road course races in the Xfinity Series, Other than AJ, who was great. A lot of times you just need to be solid and not great. The way that these things get so wacky. Parker Kligerman has been really solid. Very much could have won Portland's race last year. But he again also illustrates the wackiness of Portland. Keep Portland weird. What's keeping Portland weird? Turn one. Parker Kligerman misses turn one at the end of the race. Tough luck. Sam Mayer is now shooting to the top of the board with a 68% top 10 rate. You look at his best finishes. His best finish is a first. His second best finish is a win. His third best finish is a win. His fourth best finish is a second place. So he has 3 wins and a runner-up. If I just pull the best from him, all last year, rocking and rolling. Austin Hill, solid top 10 percentage. Never won an Xfinity road course race. Has won at a road course in the Truck Series. Plenty of podiums there. Just Allgaier. Just 2 road course wins. And if I remember right, those were pretty soft fields, like a Mid-Ohio, possibly a Road America. Off weeks where ringers weren't involved. But still, although he never is at the top, and that's kind of been his career, 61% top 10 rate. Then we got a dramatic drop here to Chandler Smith at 44%, who doesn't really strike us as a good road course racer, but limited experience. It's not terrible, honestly, because when I think of Chandler Smith, I think, ugh. But here he is right now, 9th best in our field, so maybe a little bit better than my recollection. Sheldon Creed has wins in the Xfinity or Truck Series, has been really good at Portland, but again, Sheldon Creed comes out for road course racing. What's that mean? He can absolutely tear up a road course and then absolutely tear up his car. And that's what's expected. He has run really well at Portland the last 2 years, and stuff happens. I mean, look, highest rated driver last year at Portland finishes 7th. 13th finishes 32. The Sheldon Creed comes out of Sheldon Creed at Portland. The party animal. Party animal. Ryan Truex getting the JGR ride. We'll see how that works out. Sammy Smith, really nothing to write home about. Brandon Jones with 41 races under his belt. No one has more experience. And a lot of these times he's running Trans Am races and all those other races that go along with it. Just a 29% top 10 rate. I mean, at least he is a top 15. That's about where we'd project him, top 15. Brennan Poole next on our list. Not bad. 50%. You look, 14 road course races, 7 top 15s. I like it. Now that's top 15. That's not top 10, but we are lowering the standard a little bit for a guy like Brandon Poole. Brandon Poole. Jeb Burton, pretty decent results in his 23 road course races. Some of those might be inflated by having a Collin car or even a Jordan Anderson car. Regardless, he's going to typically be in one of those types of equipment, so not the worst pick. Look at how many races Jeremy Clements has been in, 47. Preston Pardus, can you believe, since you've probably been playing DFS NASCAR, especially the Xfinity Series, you know we've talked about Preston Pardus plenty of times. But did you realize he's been in 22 races? That's crazy. 46 for Ryan Sieg. You'd expect him to have improved at the road courses by now. He has not. Now, again, Sieg and Clements never really have the greatest equipment, but they still should be able to, especially in Xfinity fields that can be kind of watered down, to have slightly better results. They should be at least better than Poole. I mean, maybe just pushing, right? They're not expected percentage-wise to be better than these other drivers, and the sample size is smaller for these other drivers. I guess at the end of the day, if we are to zoom out a little bit and say, all right, I mean, you're looking now at the mid-pack, or you're outside of the JGRs, you're outside of the Junior Motorsports, the Haas cars, and you're looking at the mid-pack, and here they are at the top of the mid-pack, and here they are with the most experience, so not terrible. Sage Karam's been popping up in optimal lineups. Josh Williams has been popping up in optimal lineups, and he gets upgraded equipment. Josh Bilicki's got a couple appearances. He's at 8,800 this week. That's because he's in a JGR car. Oh, God. How's the DFS community going to handle this? We've played Bilicki with every backmark your team you can name. We rolled the dice. Sometimes we've hit. Often we have not, as you can see with the numbers. But now the pressure's on. He's got a couple JGR rides coming up. This is it. And Bilicki's one of those guys who's known to work the phones, bring in sponsors. And so I'm sure that he worked pretty hard to line this deal up. Now, if he can prove himself in this road course, maybe he's going to get further opportunities. And JGR will look at him and say, all right, the guy can do road courses. We run a lot of road courses. And the guy has the marketing expertise, which is probably something that we should start circling on our NASCAR resumes of, all right, you want to ride for my team? Are your parents rich? No. Okay. Number 2, how are your telemarketing skills? How you doing with the cold calls? You know, someone with a expert degree in communication or marketing, or who has read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you've mastered that book, then you probably get yourself a NASCAR ride. So here's your guide. If you want to be in the NASCAR, coming from someone who knows nothing, but be born rich or be a slick schmoozer. I guess Josh Bilicki is the slicky. Slick Bilick. So we're going to start calling him. All right, we run through. You can go through some of these superstars, super studs, super duds on your own. In terms of Kings of the Road, I think we pretty much covered it. Who the best? You know who the best are. It's AJ. End of story. Now, if it's not AJ, then we do have, Custer who's solid and steady. Allgaier solid and steady. Sam Mayer has really come on a lot recently. Austin Hill's solid and steady, but maybe not quite as prone or optimal as an Allgaier or a Custer. Creed is his own mess. Truex, the concern is just not a lot of road course races, and you can look this up in the spreadsheet over the last, life. He's been in some road courses, but you can see it's pretty blank. And for him to go out to Portland for the first time, it's going to be tough. He can put together a solid day because it is wonky Portland, but he's not going to be at the top of your list. Sammy Smith struggled here last year. Has struggled at the road courses somewhat. I expect him to get better, but this is not the week where I take the late model short track superstar. That's not his background. That's not his expertise. He's still a young Xfinity driver. Not really going to jump on that. Herbst has enough experience now that even at 8,000, I think he can do it. His car blew up last year. Again, it's Portland. And you're probably saying, well, was it pipe bomb? Did it get car bomb? No. Although that is believable in Portland. My apologies to the people of Portland. Although I think probably no one in Portland listens to this podcast. I've seen the demographic numbers. Mainly boomers and Gen X, a couple of millennials. And I just don't think anyone from Portland is really listening today. So when I joke around about Portland violence and lawlessness and taking out Riley Herbst's car, I think people mind. And then to recap, Jones, Poole, really just an underrated driver. Cannot believe how underrated Bryn Poole is. Maybe someday he'll get a solid ride. But Brandon Jones, if he's starting in the back, yes. And you know what you're doing with Jones, but he has been optimal plenty of times when he messes up in qualifying. It is painful to watch. You'll be on the edge of your seat because we know Brandon Jones is prone to make mistakes. And lap after lap after lap, just waiting for him to do something stupid. If he would just go out there and run a regular race, take his top 15 and walk away, Brandon Jones isn't going to do that. Brandon Jones is going to do Brandon Jones. And, you're kind of forced to play him if he's starting in the back. If you start in the middle, the upside's not really there, and you're happy that you don't have to play Brandon Jones. Let's talk about Portland. It's a mess. You have to survive turn 1. The rest of the road course is really not that tricky, but yet they will still find ways to screw up because they are Xfinity drivers. They haven't been to Portland very often, and they're Xfinity drivers. But for the most part, it comes down to turn one. There's a chicane. What the hell are you doing putting a chicane in turn one? Whatever, they did it, okay? Xfinity Series, what the hell are you doing running a race with a chicane in turn one? These drivers can't run this road courses. And then you're going to put them in a track where they very rarely run. And you're going to throw chicane at them. And it's a mess. It is a great equalizer. The first year, the rule was, all right, if you miss the chicane in turn one, it's a stop and go. And so you kind of had to park to the side of the turn. And then you got people just running into each other because, I mean, really doesn't take a genius to figure this out. All right, oh, I missed the chicane. I drove through it. I'll stop. And then the guy behind me misses the chicane and he just runs into me because I stopped. So, yeah, that was smart. The next year, NASCAR says, all right, we got to, so they put up these like little tents and you're supposed to zigzag through. If you miss the chicane, then you got to do a zigzag through. It was never clear. It's like, do I have to go through all three of them? Do I go through two of them? Do I go through one? Do I start on the right side or go from the left side? And they never clear that up in the show. And they never really enforce it. I guess if you just kind of attempt to drive through the little tents, then you're good. Who knows what they'll do this year? Maybe this year, if you miss the chicane, a lightning bolt comes down and you shrink. I don't know. Anyway, it turns it into just, and then you've got the northwest weather up in Portland, which can wreak havoc. If we look at last year's race, Cole Custer wins this race. He's not the best car. He makes the fewest amount of mistakes, although he makes a giant one. He has the lead entering stage 3. And what happens? You guessed it. He misses the damn chicane. Look at, I mean, can't make this stuff up. So there it is. He goes to 9th. But don't worry, because everyone else is going to screw up. And he's in 6th place. And then guess what? These lunatics all just screw up again. Allgaier nearly runs him down at the end. But I'm telling you, turn one is just stupid. It's not stupid. But you can go back and watch a highlight or watch the races on YouTube, and you're like, oh gosh. Sometimes there were where you have 20 cars all miss. And that's a lot of it's because they don't know what they're doing. Again, they're not all road course experts. They're not even expert drivers. And all it really takes for this to happen is you're basing your braking pattern on the guy in front of you. And he's the squirrel you're chasing, wherever you say, well, when he brakes, I'll brake. Well, if that one driver messes it up, then you miss it. And if the guy behind you is following you, and so everybody just drives right through. And there are plenty of times where it's not a handful of cars, it's like half of the field misses the turn. It reminds me of that, like some of those stupid memes you've seen. The one that pops up in my head is it's like a bicycle race in South America, and there's a car, and it's like 20 bicyclists just getting run over by the car, all making the same mistake. I don't know. Anyway, Custer wins despite messing up, but that perfectly illustrates what you're going to see here. And we go back to the general idea of solid, steady, make the least amount of mistakes, and you can win this race. And although he wasn't really a top hog, he was a first place finish. And I think either way you slice it, whether it's a hog dominator, I think the winner of the race is ultimately going to end up in the optimal lineup. So you want to pick the winner. Because let's say the hog isn't the winner. Well, you didn't pick the winner. You didn't win. Sheldon Creed, big time score. He manages not to get in the optimal lineup. Can you believe that? 3.6 fast led points, 11.75 laps led points, starts first, finishes 7th, not in the optimal lineup. So I think the way I want to approach is I hope that I pick the winner. I'm not worried if that winner leads the most laps. It'll sort itself out because of this goofy track. We have seen plenty of leaders in road courses in the Xfinity Series not end up being optimal because of the stupid stuff that happens. Just hope that I land on the guy that wins the damn race. So there's Custer. Again, explaining Portland to you a little bit further is the 2022 race with AJ Allmendinger. And this one was in a monsoon. And AJ is going to win this race. Ty Gibbs is optimal with a big time score, but he doesn't get his finish. Right? You look, 11.7, 10.5. He must have ran away with this race. And he did. He had the best average running position. He finished 7th. Welcome to Portland, folks. And Mike Snyder almost wins this race. AJ wins this race. And you're like, oh, well, of course AJ won. It's AJ Allmendinger. If you don't remember this Portland race, then you didn't play DFS that day. If you played DFS NASCAR that day, this was one of the greatest and worst days of DFS Xfinity Series ever. AJ always being chalk. You get him jumping into a ride. Says his car is terrible. Like, whatever. It's typical AJ Allmendinger talk. The guy needs a Prozac prescription, and the only thing he's got is Adderall. Maybe mix a little L-theanine in there as well if you can. Either way, a car's terrible. And it was. This car was terrible. He spun off on lap 1, grass on the radiator. He's pitting on lap 1. All right, well, there's plenty of laps. He'll get back into it. It's AJ Allmendinger. He spins off in lap 5. Oh my God. And he's screaming and yelling about how terrible this car is and we got to work on this thing. Lap 9, he gets lapped. You are watching this Portland race. It's raining. What in the world? I got 80% AJ Allmendinger. This dude's terrible. Then, lap 14, he gets lucky dog. And he pits a million times. And fortunately, because of the weather and all the stuff that's going on, because it is Portland and they can't race, you get a wreck caution, you get 2 stage breaks, you get 3 debris cautions. That's right, our friend Jacques Debris, they say over in F1, Jacques Debris. And then you also get 2 more fluid cautions. He gets working on his car plenty enough. And, everyone else does their part, which is to spin and wreck and do stupid stuff, which is pretty typical in this race. That in the end, there he is. AJ passes Mike Snyder for the lead. Not the cleanest pass, but not necessarily doors him. Runs him about as tight as you could, and runs you about as tight as you would, given what AJ had been through that day. Takes the lead, wins the race. Unbelievable. Portland is about as freaking wacky as we can imagine, guys. It just doesn't get any weirder. And I would imagine it'll be weird again. And so maybe you want to be a little bit weird with your lap leader, race winner. Maybe not. I don't think I necessarily want to be weird with my place differential value. We'll talk about that in a second. I want them to be kind of close to the front and the benefit from the turn 1 mess that's going to happen at the end. Let's talk about some highlights and lowlights from Portland in the past. And I'll just run through these real quick. 2022, Creed in second, spins out. Also from that race, Jesse Iwuji dumps Ty Gibbs. What? Yeah, Iwuji's a lap down, and he takes out Ty Gibbs. Like, why would he do that? Because he doesn't know what he's doing. It wasn't necessarily intentional. Iwuji just drove into the turn too hard and took out the leader. Welcome to Portland, folks. And Iwuji actually will end up finishing, 26th, top 20 DFS day. What are we getting ourselves into? This is going to be a fun day. Gibbs also in that race sends Gregson after they get into a back and forth. Gregson had already wrecked in practice on that day. Gibbs and Creed will spin off. 20 laps to go in that 2022 race, as I mentioned. About 5 to 10 cars just missed turn 1 completely. It's just mayhem. Man, we see all of it. All right, let's talk about the optimal from 2023 real quick. Maybe we'll close out by talking about some of these cheaper drivers, giving you quick rundowns of the bros. All right, 23 Portland. All right, you got two big place differential plays, no brainer. Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, check. Then you get the drivers finishing first and second. Again, I don't know if I'm so worried about leading laps, running fast laps. I want to land on the drivers that probably grab podiums. I think I'm going to chase place differential. And then if I'm not jamming in a bunch of place differential, then I will be satisfied for some podiums. Steep fall off here from 74.9 down here. But again, I'm chasing place differential. I don't know if I want to spend two on podiums without place differential, but I might build that way. More than likely, I would chase PD with my fourth expensive pick. That's where I'm going to go. I want a little bit more, but maybe I won't need to. I mean, it is Portland. It does get wacky. Maybe this is the way it'll end up. Now, we look at our value plays, as I mentioned before. Guys ran pretty well, and they benefited at the end. Perkins in the seed car. Perkins is a solid road course background. Perkins won a road course race, Arca West. I've mentioned that a million times. You're probably tired of hearing about it. Josh Williams, just a consistent road course racer, puts together solid DFS results, finishes the races, which is what we really like to see. There it is. There's your value. I think the value is a little bit different this week because of Portland having frozen cautions, and you're going to need your value to be a little bit better than normal because they cannot play games with stage cycling. And so we really need, in that last 10 laps, for them to be within striking distance, which I think you're going to need someone just a little bit better towards the middle to the top of the backpack or mid-pack. Don't think you can take an absolute slug. And we'll look at the 2022 Portland Optimal. Then we'll look at some road courses in general from last season. '22 Portland. Myatt Snyder, big place differential. JJ Yaley running for Carl Long, big place differential. But he did run in 23rd for the majority of the race in this crazy monsoon. And then gets a massive win here at the end because turn one's goofy as hell. But you have Myatt, I believe, for Jordan Anderson. Ty Gibbs in control for most of the race. Not a surprise in 2022. Good road course racer. He's out front for most of it. All the mess is going on in the back. And he's good until he runs into a Woogie. And then he's back in the back dealing with the crap. AJ ends up stealing it in the end. Barely squeezes in there into the optimal. But he gets you enough place differential. He fills in this finishing position bucket. Pretty solid day overall. Barry was a pretty good place differential play. Just doesn't fit. Then you end up with LeBay, who we all know is a good road course racer. Put together tons of good results. He and Mario Gosselin. And then Brandon Brown, probably not especially good. But when we look back in 2022, and we look at the mid-pack, and the top of the mid-pack, he is there. And that is where he runs. And then he does take advantage of guys just not getting their finish. And he started 28th. So again, think for your value at Portland, you're looking at the mid-pack top tier drivers who can run around 20th and then jump up at the end. And then up here, we're chasing place differential and the win. Although, yeah, pretty simple. Let's look at some optimals from last year. I'm just going to run you through some names of really the value drivers because we know the top tier guys who have performed. So we look at the Roval and we look at our value. We got Kaz Grala. Now, he may not technically be value. We're looking at some of these names that we're not always familiar with. Kaz is optimal at Charlotte running for Sam Hunt. He was also optimal last year at Chicago for Sam Hunt. And then we got Brennan Poole running for JD Motorsports in this race. I believe Mike Snyder was with JGR in that race. or Jordan Anderson. I have to double check that. We go to Watkins Glen. Ross Chastain running for Gosselin. Connor Mosack is optimal running for Sam Hunt. Mosack, pretty good in the ARCA series. Pretty solid little late model kid. Going to have his Junior Motorsports Xfinity debut coming up. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good in the truck series. You can avoid issues. Kligerman's popped up a lot. He's not necessarily a value guy, but really knows what he's doing on road courses. Got that Mid-Ohio win once upon a time. Well, I know he's got the Mid-Ohio Truck Series win a couple of seasons ago. And he had another one, too. There's Brendan Poole again popping up on your sheet. Indianapolis. There's Kaz. Missed that. There you go, Kaz, Sam Hunt. I think he's got 3 appearances. Alex LeBay again for Mario Gosselin. And then there's Sage running for Tommy Joe Martin. He is also optimal in the race before that at Road America. There's Sage. Hey, just below that's Kyle Weatherman in a Gosselin car. And then we got Ryan Sieg popping up. And then you got Brandon Jones classic play here, getting you a bunch of place differential. Parker Kligerman popping up again. Place differential. What I say, scoring buckets. We are chasing place differential. That doesn't mean we're completely abandoning the winner, although the winner doesn't get in. You do have 2 drivers that get podiums that get in. Chicago. There's your place differential. And hey, who is it again? It's Kaz Garala. And you got Kyle Weatherman jumping up here for JD Motorsports in this race. And then you got Clements running for Clements. 40,000 road course races. Average rank position is decent. Gets a finish. Starting dead last. Place differential. Place differential. Place differential. Chasey. And then you've got a podium here. You got a podium here. How about that? Sonoma. Looking at some of our optimal. Parker showing up again. And Josh Bilecki, 20th. Finishes 19th. Pretty tricky. And I wonder if this is kind of more of a Sonoma thing. Not really surprised to possibly see Sonoma play out more conservatively. And us not getting a lot of deep plays. I don't know why Eric Almirola is so cheap in that car. We already looked at Portland. Fire up Coda. There's Brandon Jones, a classic place differential Joni play. Parker Retzlaff for Jordan Anderson, place differential. And there's Jeremy Clemmies. 11, not the best, but he does run in that sweet spot. And then jump up there at the end. Get Alf there too. All right. Closing out, talking about some of these new guys, just to give you a rundown. I don't think I probably will go that deep. But we will at least just highlight some of these noobs. Since we are here. And thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, share. $30 for June, $55. Look at all these sheets in here. All right, I don't know why Ellis is the cheapest. I am kind of attracted because you are getting Ryan Ellis at the very bottom. Blaine Perkins, as I've mentioned, he was often here last year. Has been a pretty good road course racer. This is a Portland track where almost no one has any experience. So his lack of experience is really experience because he has raced here before. And he finished 15th. And I like him at road courses. Patrick Gallagher actually raced. Here's how deep and stupid I get into the statistics. He was in a Pirelli Road Course Sports Challenge at Portland in 2018. God help me. The work that I put in. That's right. Patrick Gallagher has been at this track once before in it wasn't Trans Am, but it was the Pirelli Challenge. So 5,200 for Patrick Gallagher. I will take that as well. These guys are priced too low. These two for sure. And just, I don't understand why you put Ryan Ellis in the back. Honeyman, I would worry a little bit about at 5,300. He does have halfway decent equipment, but the experience isn't there. I have no idea how Frankie Muniz is more expensive than anyone else, but he is. He's not the greatest equipment. He's not the greatest driver, but hey, we'll all be pulling for him. Haley Deegan, they did the old fire the crew chief trick, like getting the Austin Dillon treatment. Not excited about that. Smithley could just mind his own business and be all right. Let's see where he starts. Brendan Poole, as I've mentioned before, is popping up on plenty of optimal lineups in the past. 5,800, he should be more expensive. Uh, as far as all these drivers go, he is the safest that we have mentioned yet. He is legitimately capable of running in the top 20 and moving forward. Other drivers are just more volatile. We don't know what exactly Gallagher is going to give us. We don't know exactly what Blaine Perkins is going to give us. But we cross the fingers and wait. Much rather have Poole for cheaper than Sieg. I could have a conversation about Gosselin versus Poole with Weatherman, but I think ultimately I am leaning a little more Poole, but that's fine. Logan Bearden, no way. I mean, the kid just doesn't have any real experience. You can look that up in the sheet and go to his stats. It's just not there. He's got a handful of races. Ed Jones, you can Google him up and look. Road course racer. It's going to be in a Sam Hunt car. We have seen Kaz get plenty of optimal lineup appearances in Sam Hunt equipment. 6,300, not going to take a lot for him to be optimal. Definitely be a driver that we're going to want to look at practice laps for, and we're going to want to review data for. What did he do at COTA? Yikes. Burned you. Josh Williams also burned you at COTA, but he's been optimal just enough times. You look at some of these results. Can't scratch him off. 6,400 pretty cheap. Same thing, Parker Retzlaff. We're talking about mid-pack drivers who can run around top 20, get it at the end, not miss turn one. You can get there. Austin Green's got some pretty good, exciting stats. If you want to look them up, driver database, you can look up his stats in third turn. Look at his IMSA. I think he's got IMSA stuff. Well, he's got Trans Am stuff. Might as well pull it up since you're here. And he did run well in the last race. So if you pull up some of his Trans Am stats, second place finish, 6th, 8th, 5th, 2nd, some podiums at Circuit of Americas, not bad in his class. So not completely a noob or unfamiliar with road course racing, and he is in decent equipment. And in that decent equipment, he finished 7th at COTA. Preston Pardus back with Mario Gosselin. Been pretty up and down. He's had good races, bad races, plenty of road course racing experience. He'll do the Mazda MX-5. He's always out doing something. He's not really been, he's never stepped away from the car that much. As far as talent goes, he's there, and he's got a decent car. Just putting it all together and then avoiding the pitfalls of Portland is another thing. I paid a little more than I would like for these drivers, but they're all fine if I can get place differential. Brandon Jones at 7,500, place differential. Sage is fine, but I probably still want at least double-digit place differential. Same thing I would say for any of these drivers in this ground. And you know the guys at the top. That'll do it. We went long enough. Thanks for joining me here at the Fantasy NASCAR Podcast. You know the drill. Here's the website. Those are the links. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. One payment. No subscription necessary. No automatic billing. No address or two-factor verification. Just send over the money. Share the sheets with you. June, $30. Or $55 and just go ahead and take care of the summer. Get your NASCAR summer started. My NASCAR summer has started. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock. We went and watched Garfield the other day. Very good. Highly recommend. I had no idea what this Garfield movie is going to be about. I didn't know that Chris Pratt was Garfield. I didn't know that Samuel L. Jackson was Garfield's dad, Vic. I did not know it was a father and son movie. I didn't know it was a father and son heist movie. I didn't know there was going to be allusions to Top Gun and Mission Impossible. It was very good. It was not woke. As the father of a 5-year-old and having to sit through countless new Disney cartoons and other videos, it's very rare anymore that anything that you watch is not woke. Or what am I trying to say? Everything has to be PC. Everything has to be soft. Everything has to have a message. Everything has to have a politically correct message. Everything often has a politically correct message that I don't necessarily agree with. So it's rare, it's a surprise, and it is a gift. When you get a movie, it says, look, it's just a freaking movie. Have some fun. Relax, kid. Relax, dad. Eat some popcorn. Drink a soda. Have a num-a-num. And enjoy yourself. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last year. Amazing. No message, just fun. Garfield is that movie this summer. Highly recommend it with your kid. Great father and son movie. No stupid messages. Just having fun, rock and rolling. Super Mario Bros. Was kind of that movie too, although there was like this underlying theme of girls can't lose. That wasn't really their fault. Here we go. Movie critic analysis. But if you watch that Mario Brothers movie again, all the characters are flawed and have weaknesses and have to overcome, and that's what makes a movie good. It's what makes the story good. Read Joseph Campbell's The Hero. What? I can't remember the name. The hero's journey or whatever it is. You have to have an arc. You have to have a struggle. You have to have character change through it. That's all the characters in Mario Brothers, whether it be Donkey Kong and his dad, Mario and his dad, which like, oh, that's a pretty popular theme. Yeah, well, it's common throughout history. But the one character that never struggles and never has a weakness and never has to grow or change is Princess Peach. She always wins. And that makes her character very boring. It's my only criticism of that Mario movie. And you dig deep, you're like, yeah, because they didn't want to make a woman look weak. It's probably true. They were probably afraid in the political climate to make a woman look inferior or have a weakness. And you see that with the action movies from Marvel, where the male characters all have problems. And they're constantly dealing with those problems. And those are the best movies. They do the best. And then when they do the superhero movies with lead female characters, they have invincible, perfect women. And it's not fun to watch because they never go through anything. They never go through any struggles because they're too woke and they're too afraid of making a woman not look perfect. And the rare occasion that you get a movie where, like, the one that pops off in my head is Sicario. I know it's not a movie where it's not a comic book movie by any means. But in Sicario, the female lead of Emily Blunt is weak. She makes mistakes. She's scared. She's afraid. She second guesses herself. And that's what makes her character compelling. And then you watch her character grow and overcome challenges. And in the end, things work out. And that's what makes it a good movie. If you watch a movie where a person starts at perfect, point A, and then point B at the end is perfect, then why did I watch this movie? Did you like this rant? Either way, Mario Brothers is still pretty good. Hey, what was the common line there, though? Chris Pratt was in Mario. Good. Chris Pratt is Garfield. Pretty good. I know it's not Bill Murray, who did some work as Garfield, but it's still really good. And I would recommend it for you, especially fathers and sons. Another Garfield fact. This is weird. So if you watch Ghostbusters, Bill Murray, right? The character or the voice actor for the Ghostbusters cartoon, is also the voice actor for the Garfield cartoon. Who plays Garfield in the movie? Bill Murray. Who plays Peter Venkman in the movie Ghostbusters? Bill Murray. It's really weird. The guy does all the voice for the cartoons for Bill Murray. Anyway, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. One ending. Plus to have you guys sitting around through some stupid talk. Love you guys. Triple Light Fantastic.